You don't really get it until you've lived through it. People like to tell you to just let go or move on, like it's that simple, like it's some kind of switch you can flick. I really wish. But no, the shit sticks with you. It fucking stays. No matter how many times you say, I'm fine. No matter how many times you try to shove it all down, pretending to be someone you're not, someone you wish you could be. I can tell you right now, it's like dragging around this goddamn weight that keeps pressing into your chest. You want to know about me? Yeah, all right. My name's Alex. I'm 35 now. I work in tech, something that pays the bills but doesn't do shit for my soul. I'm married to Rachel. She's a doctor, and I swear to God, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. You'd think someone like me would have given up on love, considering the shit show I grew up in. But yeah, here I am. And I've got a kid too. We're expecting another one soon, actually. But none of that shit matters until you understand where I came from. I was raised in a broken home, broken in every sense of the word. My mom did the best she could, but she was always caught up in her own mess. My stepdad, the bastard, liked to drink too much and yell too much. Sometimes it'd be more than yelling. There were nights when he'd come home, eyes glazed, fists tight, and I'd just have to pretend I wasn't in the room. I remember hoping so hard for something better, some kind of escape, but that never came. You don't ever get used to it, you just survive. You learn to hide, learn to be quiet. You learn to keep your mouth shut and let everything roll off your back. But the thing is, it doesn't roll off. It builds. It piles up inside you until it feels like you're choking on it. And when I was about 13, the church became my so-called escape. Yeah, I know, you're probably thinking, oh, here we go, religious trauma. But listen, this isn't about the whole church bad, church good debate. It's about me trying to find somewhere, anywhere that might actually give a shit about me. So I walked into that church with a prayer in my heart, hoping someone would just see me. Just once. I was a kid looking for a goddamn reason to believe there was something more to life than this broken mess I was stuck in. I'd heard about Jesus. I'd heard about the love and salvation thing. Yeah, it sounded too good to be true, but when you're drowning, you'll grab onto anything that floats. At first, it was all right. The people at church seemed nice. They smiled and said things like, God loves you, son. And for a moment, I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what I needed. The warmth of the congregation felt like something I could hold on to. But let me tell you something. That shit didn't last. It didn't last a minute. I'll never forget it. It was a Sunday service. The guest speaker, some high and mighty pastor with a fancy name, walked around like he had something to prove. He had 2 big rocks in his hands, the kind of rocks you'd use to, I don't know, build a fucking wall or something. He starts going on about how God told him to hand these rocks out to 2 people, 2 sinners who were living their lives wrong. And guess who got picked? Me. Yeah, I was the lucky fucker. I was sitting in the front row, trying to just make it through the sermon, hoping to God that nobody would notice I wasn't exactly a model member of their perfect little community. I had that girl April in my life, you know? She wasn't from the church, but fuck, we connected. We loved each other. And that was enough for me. But the church? No. To them, I was a sinner. I was condemned for dating outside the faith. So, yeah, guess who got a rock slapped into their hand in front of the entire goddamn congregation? It was like time slowed down. I could feel the eyes of everyone on me. 200 pairs of eyes, staring, judging, condemning. This rock, man, it was heavy. It wasn't just weight. It was like the universe itself had just decided that I was the one to bear the burden. Like all my mistakes, all my sins, all the shit I had been running from my whole life was now visible. I wasn't just holding a rock. I was holding every failure, every broken promise, every goddamn thing that was wrong with me. The pastor, that pompous bastard, looked at me and said, "This rock is a symbol of the sin you carry. God is calling you to repent." And I don't even remember how I got through the rest of the service. All I could hear was the thumping of my heart in my chest. The weight of that rock never left me. It was the weight of judgment. It was the weight of being wrong. And the worst part, I wasn't the only one. Every single goddamn person there, they all had a version of that rock. It wasn't just me they were judging, it was everyone. They just didn't care. All that talk of love and grace, it was a fucking joke. There was no love there. There was no grace, just rules, just exclusion. But then something happened. I'd never thought I'd find anything in a Marilyn Manson video, but here we are. Manson, of all people, is the one who fucking broke the chains for me. I was pissed off one night sitting on my bed, watching some interview where he was talking about his experiences with religion, how the church fucked him over, how they condemned him for being who he was. I thought, well, hell, if Manson can survive this shit, maybe there's something to what he's saying. It was the way he spoke, though. Not the showy, rebellious shit he was known for, but the raw, honest pain in his words. He wasn't the demon the church had made him out to be. He was just a guy who'd been through the ringer. And when he talked about finding his own path, his own peace, I realized something. Maybe it wasn't about them at all. Maybe I didn't need to be anyone's idea of right. Maybe, just maybe, I could find my own fucking way. That's when I decided. I wasn't going back to that church. I wasn't going to live my life under their thumb anymore. Fuck that. So I walked away, and honestly, it was the hardest thing I ever did, but it was also the best. Because, a few months later, I married April, the girl they'd condemned me for loving. And you know what? Fuck anyone who said we were wrong. I had found peace in her. I found love in her. She wasn't some perfect angel in their eyes either, but to me, she was everything. I look back on that time and yeah, it stings, it fucking hurts, even now. But the more I learned, the more I realized the church didn't hold the answers. The world didn't hold the answers. I had to find them on my own. And that's what I did, but I didn't know what was coming next. That's the thing. No one ever does. You can fight all your demons, but life's got a way of throwing you into the fire. And sometimes you don't get to choose when it happens. Sometimes you just break. Shit happens, right? One minute you're just trying to get through life, doing your best to juggle the chaos, and the next minute you're flatlining in a hospital bed with machines making all kinds of awful beeping noises around you. My heart just gave out. Maybe it was the years of carrying anger like a heavy fucking anchor. Or maybe it was the years of trauma, shit you don't even realize is still gnawing away at you, piece by piece, until you finally crack. It doesn't matter really. What matters is this. I wasn't ready to die. But my body had decided, fuck it, you're done. It happened fast. One minute I'm sitting in my apartment just going through the motions, and the next, pain. Like a bad, slow burn in my chest, but then it spread. Down my arms, across my neck, up into my head, and that's when I knew. Oh, shit. This is it. When it happens to you, you don't get that Hollywood moment where you're clutching your chest and gasping for air with dramatic music playing in the background. Nah, it's just raw panic. You start thinking of everything you didn't do, every fight you never finished, every apology you never made, but there's no time for any of that. It doesn't matter. I remember just before it all went black, I felt my chest tighten. Then something unexpected happened. It wasn't a rush of fear or terror like I expected. It was like someone just hit pause on my life. There was no more pain, no more suffocating weight on my chest, no more of that crushing fucking burden I had been carrying for God knows how long. The noise in the hospital room faded. The frantic voices of the nurses and doctors, all that crazy mechanical shit that normally makes you want to rip your hair out, became muffled. It was like I wasn't even there anymore. I don't even know how to explain it. One second I'm there, trapped inside my body, and the next, I'm not. My soul, if that's what you want to call it, just kind of slipped out. I wasn't aware of it at first. It was like waking up in the middle of a dream, unsure of where you were or what was going on. I didn't see some dramatic light or hear some angelic choir. It was just me, floating, detached. It wasn't peaceful exactly, but it wasn't terrifying either. It was this strange, surreal sense of release. I wasn't me anymore. I wasn't trapped in this fucked up body that had taken too much shit for far too long. I wasn't confined by the rules of this world. I wasn't weighed down by 1,000 different hurts, regrets, or the constant noise of daily life. And then I looked down at myself. I saw my own body, lying there, lifeless, hooked up to all these wires and tubes. It was so fucking strange. It didn't even look like me. There was this weird detachment, like I was watching someone else. This wasn't my body anymore. Hell, it was like my body had become just another object in the room, something that was no longer mine to control. I had left it behind. The weirdest part? I didn't care. Not a single ounce of me cared. My heart wasn't racing. There was no panic, no terror, no regret, just peace. There was this overwhelming sense of freedom, like all the shit that had been holding me down, my pain, my guilt, my anger, the relentless pressure of the world had just evaporated. I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my chest and I was floating free in the fucking cosmos. No more rules, no more bullshit, no more judgment. Just me. I've had a lot of fucking shitty days in my life, but this was different. There was no more fight, no more struggle. For the first time, I didn't have to be anything to anyone. I didn't have to live up to anyone's expectations. I wasn't some broken piece of shit from a broken family. I wasn't the guy who'd been humiliated by the pastor at church. I wasn't the guy who'd let his anger control him. I wasn't the guy who spent his whole life searching for love and never really finding it. None of that mattered anymore. It felt like an eternity, and yet no time at all. The room I'd been in, gone. The sterile white walls, the machines beeping away like they gave a damn about what happened to me, faded into the background. The world felt distant, like I was no longer tethered to it, no longer trapped by time or space. For the first time, I was free. I don't know how long I floated like that, but I felt a sense of calm that was so fucking foreign to me. I didn't know how to process it. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel lonely. Hell, I didn't even feel sad. It was like I was home, but I wasn't sure where the hell home was. It was just quiet. And in that silence, I realized something huge. I wasn't just free from my body. I was free from everything. The years of guilt, the years of self-loathing, fucking church that had used me as a puppet, the anger that had boiled inside me, poisoning every fucking relationship I ever had. It was all gone. All of it. And for the first time in my goddamn life, I felt okay. No more pretending, no more fitting into boxes, no more conforming. I could just be. I've spent so many years struggling against everything. Against people who tried to tell me who I should be, against an abusive past that tried to define me, against a faith that promised salvation but only handed me judgment. But now I was free of all that, and it was the most peaceful, liberating thing I've ever fucking felt. It wasn't heaven. It wasn't some utopia filled with angels playing harps or whatever bullshit you're taught to believe. It was just me, detached, peaceful, free. And I swear to God, if there's anything I learned in that moment, it's that we spend too much time on this earth clinging to shit that doesn't matter. We waste our lives trying to live up to the expectations of people who wouldn't even care if we died tomorrow. We spend our time shackled by guilt and shame, trapped inside these bodies that we think define us. But when it all falls away, when your heart stops, when your body gives out, none of that shit matters. It's just you. And you realize that maybe you were never the problem. Okay, so up until now, everything felt like a weird, dreamlike blur. I was floating around, weightless, like a ghost, no longer tethered to the mess I'd left behind. And then out of nowhere, that happened. Like the last fucking thing I expected. Jesus. Now, don't get me wrong, I've never been the religious type. I have been the church the finger giving because, let's face it, they had a real talent for making people like me feel like absolute shit. You fuck up once and they'll throw a stone at you like you're the Antichrist. They're all about judgment, all about control, like you've got to be some kind of perfect saint to even get a seat at their little table. I spent years getting chewed up and spit out by that hypocrisy. But here in this space, it wasn't about religion, it wasn't about rules or who's doing what wrong, it was just Jesus. I saw this bright, almost blinding light that was both intense and comforting at the same time. It wasn't like the blinding shit you see in a near-death experience movie where you get hit with a light that's so bright you can't see shit. No, this was different. This was a light that felt warm. It wasn't some fiery, hellish light either. It was calm, gentle, as if the light itself was wrapping around me saying, "It's okay, just breathe, you're all right." And then, through that light, I saw him, a figure approaching slowly. I can't even describe it fully. It wasn't like how the church showed him, this pale, pristine, perfect dude with golden hair, all soft and angelic. No, he didn't look like some guy out of a Renaissance painting. He looked real. He had this presence, this energy that was just right. Not too much, not too little, just enough. Enough to let you know, yeah, I'm here and I see you. I see everything. At first, I didn't even know how to feel. I was still half in disbelief, like, this is a joke, right? This is some kind of hallucination brought on by a dying brain. But the moment he got close enough, everything stopped. Time, space, my thoughts, it all froze. I was just there, in front of him. And that's when I felt it, this crazy, undeniable warmth that hit me like a tidal wave. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like I knew him. I didn't need words. I didn't need explanations. He just looked at me, and in that one look, it was like he was telling me, I know you. I see all your shit. I see all the pain, the rejection, the bullshit, the anger. I know your heart better than you do. I know what you've been through. And I swear to you, there was no judgment in his eyes. There wasn't a hint of condemnation, no smug look, no guilt trip, no you're a sinner and you need to repent, motherfucker kind of vibe. None of that. He just looked at me. And that's when I realized I wasn't the screw up the church told me I was. I wasn't the broken, shameful asshole who'd been made to feel like shit because of my mistakes. All that stuff, the rejection, the judgment, the guilt, that was the church's problem, not mine. I'd carried this weight around for years. Every time I stepped into that church, I could feel the eyes on me. I could feel their disapproving stares, their whispers behind my back. I could feel them pointing fingers, judging me like I was a fucking lost cause because I didn't fit into their neat little boxes of who they thought I should be. They told me I wasn't worthy, that I was damned for making decisions that didn't align with their perfect little world. But here, in the light, in front of Jesus, there was none of that. There was no accusation, no judgment, just love. And I'll be damned if that wasn't the most overwhelming thing I'd ever felt in my life. It wasn't just any kind of love. It wasn't the kind of love where you're expected to earn it or do something to be worthy of it. No, this was unconditional. No fucking strings attached. You didn't need to change to fit into some ideal. You didn't need to be perfect. You didn't need to jump through a bunch of hoops to prove you were good enough. You just were. You existed, and that was enough. That was the love he showed me, and it knocked the fucking wind out of me. For the first time in my life, I felt like I mattered. Truly mattered. Not because I was a good little soldier in some broken faith, not because I was following the rules, but because I was just me. Just this fucked up, bruised soul who had been tossed around and beaten down, trying to make sense of everything. And Jesus was looking at me like he understood. Like he saw all my scars and said, I love you anyway. You don't need to change for me. I've been there. I know the pain. And that's when it hit me. I didn't need the church. I didn't need their judgments or their rigid fucking rules. I didn't need their approval. Because this love, this was the real deal. This was the kind of love I had been searching for my whole damn life. He took a step closer, and there was no fear. There wasn't that pit in my stomach. There wasn't that urge to run away like I always felt when I got too close to anything remotely resembling a church. Instead, there was this profound sense of peace. And before I knew it, I was on my knees. I didn't even know how it happened. It was like I couldn't help it, like my body just knew it was where I needed to be. Kneeling in front of him, not because he demanded it, but because for the first time I felt safe. I felt like I was finally where I belonged. And then he spoke. His voice wasn't booming like you see in movies. It wasn't some grand speech, but it hit me right to my core. You've been hurt, he said. And his voice was so gentle, so fucking soothing. Like a father, like someone who had been through hell and back and stood. You've carried the weight of the world on your shoulders, thinking you had to do it alone. I see that. I know all of it. The rejection, the humiliation, the loneliness. I know it all, and I'm here to tell you, none of that defines you. Jesus didn't tell me I was wrong or that I needed to change. He didn't point out every mistake I'd made and tell me I was going to hell for it. He didn't fucking shame me. He just understood. And in that understanding, I felt something I had never felt before. A sense of peace. The kind of peace that fills up every corner of your broken heart and makes you realize that maybe for the first time in your life, it's okay to let go of all the crap you've been holding on to. You're not what they said you were, he continued, looking at me with those eyes that didn't condemn, didn't judge. You're not the shame they tried to make you feel. You are loved, just as you are. And I'm sitting there fucking crying my eyes out like a goddamn baby because for the first time ever, I didn't feel like I had to hide. I didn't have to pretend I was someone I wasn't. I didn't have to act like I had it all together, like I had earned my place in the world. Jesus didn't care. He didn't give a fuck about my mistakes, my past, my failures. He just loved me. And that was enough. That love, that real, unfiltered, unconditional love was something I had never experienced in my life. And it was exactly what I needed. There was no guilt, no shame, no fucking judgment. Just peace, just love. Now, shit really started to get wild. I was still kneeling there in the presence of Jesus, feeling all kinds of peace and love flood me. But then, bam, a shift. Like 1 minute I'm soaking in this unconditional love, and the next I'm not just there, I'm somewhere else. It's like the whole place just fucking warped around me, and I was no longer in some divine, glowing aura with Jesus at the center. I wasn't in some weird, fluffy afterlife. Nah, I was standing at the edge of this massive lake, so still it looked like glass. It was surreal as hell, like I'd walked into some old school painting or a dream I never wanted to wake up from. The first thing I noticed? No judgment. None. It was like I'd been dropped into a place where the whole idea of judgment, shame, and guilt didn't exist. Like those things were just gone. Poof. Vanished. It was the first time in my life I wasn't running from myself. The air? Fresh. Like a breath I'd never taken before. No bullshit, no fear of the world coming down on me, no fake smiles or whispers behind my back. The kind of air that filled my lungs and told me, "You're all right, you don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore." Fuck, it felt good. I could see this vast, tranquil lake stretching out before me, looking endless. It didn't matter where I looked. Everything was perfect, calm, unbroken. The horizon was unreal, too. Like it just went on, forever. No boundaries, no limits. The kind of freedom I could only dream of before. And in the middle of that, there was no expectation. There wasn't any of that nasty feeling of having to fit in, trying to be the person the world thought I should be. No need to worry about who I was disappointing or who I had to impress. No one was watching. No one was judging. It was me. I looked up at the sky and it was like some crazy mix of light and dark, like both joy and sorrow lived side by side, but neither was stronger than the other. It was just balance. Not that bullshit balance people preach where you have to keep everything in check and perfect. Nah, this was real, where both sides of life, the mess and the beauty, just were, and neither dominated. You could be angry, you could be sad, you could fuck up, but none of that was the end of you. I took a deep breath, and for the first time in my life, I realized what I was looking at. This place, this wasn't heaven. This wasn't some religious paradise where you get your wings and sit around for eternity praising God or whatever the hell. This was freedom. True freedom. Not the kind where you've got to follow some set of bullshit rules to be worthy. Not the kind where you've got to conform, be this perfect little robot in a fucking box of expectations, or else you get cast aside. No. This freedom, it was just about being you. All that stuff people tried to shove down my throat for years. Be this, do that, be good enough to fit in, follow the rules, earn love, don't make mistakes. All that shit was gone. Here, I could just be me. No one else's expectations, no one else's judgment, no one else's opinion. I was just free to exist, no strings attached. And goddamn it, I didn't realize how badly I'd been craving that freedom until that moment. How much I'd been clinging to all that crap, how much I let people tell me who I was, what I was supposed to be. People, my parents, the church, society, had been busy giving me labels my whole fucking life. Every time I stepped into that church, every time I walked into a new room, I could feel the pressure to conform to whatever narrow little box they'd decided I fit into. I was a sinner. I was a screw-up. I was wrong. I was flawed. I was too much or not enough. You name it. I was told I was it. I was a fucking disaster in their eyes. But none of that bullshit mattered here. None of it mattered because in this place, I was just me. And I could finally breathe. For the first time, I wasn't trying to measure up to anyone else's standards. I wasn't trying to be someone else. I didn't have to be perfect to be accepted. Fuck, it felt like a weight was lifted from my chest. I took another deep breath, just standing there by the lake, feeling the cool air brush across my skin, the sounds of nothing but serenity in the background. I realized I wasn't just walking away from the church or away from the people who had judged me. No, I was walking away from the idea of judgment altogether. It was like all the chains that had kept me locked in their version of who I should be had fallen away. The chains of guilt, the chains of shame, the chains of self-doubt, all gone. And the thing that hit me hardest, the realization that freedom isn't about breaking out of a physical place or rebelling against a set of rules. Freedom is about breaking the fucking chains inside. It's about stopping the constant war with yourself, letting go of the bullshit you've been told about who you should be. The world tells you who you are, your family tells you, your community tells you, your church tells you. But the truth is, none of that shit matters unless you believe it, unless you give them the power to define you. In this vision, I wasn't a prisoner anymore. I wasn't the wreck I'd been made to feel like my whole life. I wasn't that broken kid who never fit into the world. I was just a person who had been through hell, sure, but one who didn't need to carry that baggage anymore. It was a fucking liberation. I felt like I was looking at myself for the first time, not through the eyes of the church, not through the eyes of people who thought they knew me, but through my own eyes. And I realized I was enough. I had always been enough. The shame, the guilt, the fuck-ups, they didn't make me any less of a person. Those were just moments, pieces of a bigger story. But they didn't define me. Shy defined me. There was a truth that hit me like a ton of bricks in that moment. The only approval I needed was my own. And once I gave myself that approval, once I accepted myself for who I really was, then everything else faded away. All the judgment, all the condemnation, all the bullshit rules, it was all meaningless. This wasn't just some spiritual revelation. It was a goddamn wake-up call. In that moment, standing by the lake, I realized peace doesn't come from fitting into someone else's box. Peace comes from accepting the whole damn mess of who you are. The good, the bad, the ugly. The parts people don't want to see. The parts even you don't want to look at. All of it. It's all part of the package. And once you realize that, once you truly accept it, the world and everyone in it loses the power to tell you who you should be. I looked at the horizon again, the endless, peaceful horizon that stretched out forever, and I realized I didn't need to know where it ended. I didn't need to have all the answers, because the journey, the freedom, it was mine, and no one else could take that away. The air shifted again, the scene around me warping like I was watching a reality TV show on fast forward, but with none of the drama or bullshit, the kind of real raw drama that makes you want to turn your head away, but you can't. I felt myself being pulled, as if some invisible hand was guiding me. And then it hit me. I wasn't standing by a peaceful lake anymore, no, I was fucking looking at Earth. The whole damn thing. The good, the bad, the ugly. And let me tell you, humanity had fucked it all up. It wasn't like I was watching some epic war or massive catastrophe. No, it was way worse. It was all the quiet ways people fucked each other over, the ways people hurt each other without even realizing it. It was like I was seeing the dirty underbelly of humanity laid bare in front of me. All the ugly shit people don't want to talk about. The divisions, the walls, the hate, the judgment. People, they were divided like never before. And I wasn't talking about some obvious shit like wars or protest lines or fighting in the streets. I'm talking about the everyday bullshit. Those tiny, insidious ways people tear each other apart. Religion, culture, ideology, all these things that were supposed to bring people together, but instead they built walls between them. People judging others for their beliefs, their skin color, their background, hell, sometimes just for who they loved. It's like everyone forgot one simple fucking truth. We're all human. But no, everyone was too busy pointing fingers, tearing people down, looking for reasons to be superior. I saw the church too. Yeah, that church, the one that had claimed to offer love, salvation, and all that other crap. But it was broken. Leaders wearing halos of hypocrisy, walking around with their shiny suits and egos the size of the moon, casting judgment on everyone who didn't fit into their little mold. People sitting in pews every Sunday, pretending they were holier than thou, too busy judging their neighbors to even realize they were walking contradictions. It hit me hard. The church wasn't a place of healing or love. It was just another place where people could impose their own sick-ass version of what was right and wrong. It was a goddamn factory for division, cranking out more and more rules that people had to follow to be considered good. And you better believe if you didn't play by those rules, you were cast out. I could feel the weight of it. How many people had been fucked over by this system, this institution that was supposed to be a sanctuary, but instead it was a damn prison. But this vision wasn't just about the church. It wasn't just about religion. It was bigger than that. I could feel the suffering of the world in my gut, like it was all my pain, and not just mine, but the pain of everyone who'd ever been pushed aside, judged, or misunderstood. People were drowning in this shit, in these cycles of self-doubt, shame, and hatred. Every fucking time someone made a judgment, every time someone looked down on someone else for being different, it built a wall. And with every wall, the gap between people grew wider, deeper, more unforgiving. It wasn't just the physical suffering I was seeing. Nah, that shit was everywhere. But this vision, it went deeper than that. It showed me the internal struggle, the turmoil inside everyone. People weren't just battling each other, they were battling themselves. They were caught in this constant cycle of trying to live up to some impossible standard, made to feel like they weren't enough. Not good enough, not pure enough, not smart enough, not righteous enough. And the more they tried to fit in, the more they twisted and bent themselves out of shape. They were all just looking for some damn approval. And the more they looked, the more it made them fucking miserable. I saw people drowning in this relentless self-doubt. Their minds were consumed by fear and shame. They hated themselves for who they were because society told them they weren't good enough. The world told them they weren't worthy unless they fit some fucking mold that no one could ever fit perfectly. So they kept striving, kept fighting, kept hurting, just to be accepted. It was a cycle that would never end unless someone broke it, but no one seemed to know how to. I saw families torn apart because of these divisions. A kid raised in a house where the only thing that mattered was whether you believed in the right God or followed the right set of rules, only to grow up and feel like a piece of shit because they didn't. I saw marriages ripped apart, friendships destroyed, whole communities split into factions because of some petty bullshit people were clinging to, whether it was religion, politics, culture, or just some old, outdated ideals that made no fucking sense in the first place. But people were still holding on to them like they were life or death. The worst part, I saw that none of this was necessary. People had made all these divisions themselves. Humanity had built this broken, fractured world piece by piece, brick by brick, just by choosing fear over love, hate over understanding, and judgment over compassion. And man, the consequences were fucked. People were suffering, and they didn't even know why. People were so busy fighting their own demons that they didn't see how they were creating more and more of them for the people around them. It wasn't just about external wars or conflicts, it was the internal wars that fucked people up. The constant battle between wanting to fit in and not knowing how. The battle between wanting to be accepted and hating yourself for not being enough. The battle between being a good person and not knowing who the hell you even were anymore. That was the real war, and it was happening inside every damn person on Earth. This vision, this glimpse into the soul of humanity, hit me like a ton of bricks. I could feel it deep in my chest, this weight of all the brokenness and all the pain. Humanity's greatest suffering, it wasn't from the outside world. It was from within. It was the suffering humanity created for itself. One judgment, one assumption, one division at a time. And it was all a result of this one simple fucking mistake. Forgetting that everyone was human. Forgetting that we're all in this shit show together. Forgetting that love, real love, is the only thing that can bring us together. As the vision shifted, I understood something that made my heart ache. The world had the power to heal itself. It wasn't broken because it couldn't be fixed. It was broken because people kept making it worse by judging and dividing themselves. There was still hope, but if humanity didn't get its shit together and stop the cycles of judgment and division, it was going to keep drowning. It was going to keep suffering forever. And that shit, it didn't have to be that way, but it was going to take a hell of a lot more than a prayer to fix it. It was going to take change, real change, starting from the inside out. The light around me grew brighter and everything in me went silent as I felt someone approach. It was him, Jesus. You hear about him all your life in church and books, but standing there in his presence, I realized that nothing could have prepared me for the weight of that moment. He was there, right in front of me. And this wasn't some soft, cherubic, rainbow light fantasy. No, this was real. The kind of real that felt like the entire universe was holding its breath just to hear what he would say. His gaze locked onto mine. And it wasn't pity. It wasn't judgment. It was understanding, deep understanding. Like he knew every ounce of the fucked up shit I'd been through. He knew the anger, the pain, the rejection, all of it. Like he'd felt it too. And I could feel it, the raw empathy pouring off him. Like he wasn't some distant figure in a painting, but someone who'd walked through the shit I'd walked through. Someone who'd lived the same damn struggle. And then Jesus spoke. You're seeing the truth, aren't you? His voice was steady, calm, but there was urgency in the way he spoke. This world is on the brink of destruction. The hatred, the divisions, the judgment, it's all fucking suffocating everything. You can feel it, can't you? The weight of it, the pain, it's getting worse, and it's only going to get worse unless people choose a different path. And man, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't have to think about it for long. I knew exactly what he meant. Humanity was on the edge of a cliff, ready to fall. People were tearing each other apart over nothing, over what they believed, over who they loved, over where they came from. There was no end to it. And the thing that hurt the most, the thing that fucked me up deep inside, this wasn't some far-off thing. It was happening right now. Right fucking now. Jesus continued, his eyes burning with the weight of what he had to say. If people keep choosing division over unity, hatred over love, the consequences will be catastrophic. He said, his voice getting more intense. You see it already. Families breaking apart, communities fighting, nations at each other's throats, people turning on each other for reasons that don't even make fucking sense. But this is just the beginning. If they don't change, the world will burn. It's already starting. I couldn't argue with him. I could feel the truth in every word. The world was already falling apart. And it was like we were just sitting there watching it happen, like we were okay with it. People were so goddamn obsessed with being right, with clinging to their own version of the truth, that they couldn't see the bigger picture. They couldn't see how the world was unraveling. There's a choice to be made, Jesus said, his voice softening but still filled with a deep urgency. Love over hatred, unity over division, healing over destruction. But time is running out. The window for change is closing. And if people don't start choosing love, then they will be lost. All of them. Lost in a world of chaos, confusion, and pain. I swallowed hard, a knot forming in my throat. The weight of it all felt like a goddamn anvil sitting on my chest. There was no more time for bullshit. This wasn't a story. This wasn't just some warning to sit on a shelf for future generations. This was now. This was the shit that needed to be fixed right fucking now, before it was too late. Jesus took a step closer to me. You've seen it, he said, his gaze never leaving mine. You've been shown the truth. The way things are now, they're not right. But you've been given a second chance. You have a purpose. It's time to return to Earth, to take the message of love and unity and healing with you. I felt my heart stutter. Return? Back to that mess of a world I had just left? The one where everyone was so caught up in their own shit that they couldn't even see straight? The world where people judged you for the dumbest reasons? Where they stuck you in boxes and tore you apart if you didn't fit in? Fuck that. I'd just gotten a taste of peace, real peace. No judgment, no hate. I didn't want to go back to the bullshit. But his words sank in deeper than I cared to admit. I can't stay here, I said, the words sounding so small in the vast expanse of light. It's too beautiful here. Everything on Earth is so fucked up. People are so damn stubborn. Why should I go back? Why bother? Jesus' eyes softened, but there was still that underlying intensity, like he knew the answer to every question that had ever been asked. Because you have something to offer, he said gently. Because the world needs people who will choose love over judgment. People who will fight for healing instead of division. You know the truth now. You've been given the wisdom to heal. But it's not enough just to know it. You have to spread it. You have to be the example, show others that love and unity are the answers. The world doesn't need more hate. It needs people willing to stand up and say enough. No more. The weight of his words hit me like a fucking freight train. I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to face that mess again, the endless cycle of judgment and pain, but I couldn't deny the truth in his words. It was like he was saying, "You've been given a second chance. Don't waste it." I stared at him, feeling a war raging inside me. I wanted to stay in this peace, to leave the bullshit behind, but deep down, I knew I couldn't. I had to go back. I had to be part of the change. I had to fight for something better, for myself, for others, for the world that was falling apart. "Do it for them," Jesus said, his voice soft but firm. "Do it for the ones who are lost, who are stuck in the darkness. Do it for the ones who are drowning in their own fear and shame. Show them that there is a way out. Show them that love is the answer." And that was it. I knew what I had to do. As much as I hated the idea, I was being called back. I didn't have a choice anymore. The world was at a fucking crossroads. If it didn't change soon, if it didn't choose love over division, it was gonna burn. Jesus was right. I couldn't let that happen. I nodded, the weight of the decision hitting me like a punch to the gut. "I'll do it," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I'll go back, but how? How do I even start?" Jesus gave me a small, knowing smile. "You already know. Just start with love. Love for yourself, love for others, love that doesn't judge, that doesn't divide, that doesn't try to change people. Just love them for who they are. That's where it all begins." And with that, everything around me started to fade. The light, the peace, the endless warmth, it all began slipping away like sand through my fingers. I felt myself pulled back to where I had come from, back to the world that needed healing. I woke up in a fucking hospital room, disoriented as hell, everything feeling like some sort of fever dream. My chest ached like a bastard, the kind of ache that told you your heart had just gone and fucked off on you, but then came back. I didn't know if I was still in that light, floating around like some ethereal, untouchable ghost, or if I was back to this fucked up world where everything felt broken, like a cheap toy someone tried to glue back together but gave up halfway through. I was alive. That much was clear. But I sure as hell didn't feel alive. I felt weak, like I had just run a marathon across a battlefield with my guts ripped out, but at the same time, I felt something else. Something raw. Something sharp. Like my mind was suddenly clear in a way it had never been. And as I lay there in that sterile white room, I knew one thing for sure. My life had changed forever. The medical staff was all over me, pushing shit into my veins, slapping electrodes on my chest. They kept muttering about how they didn't understand how I'd survived, how they thought I was a fucking goner. And I could hear them talking, but I couldn't bring myself to care. They were just doing their jobs, trying to make sense of the impossible. But what they didn't know was this. They weren't the ones who'd brought me back. Whatever had happened to me, whatever the hell I just experienced in that other world, it wasn't some random glitch in the system. This was real. It was fucking real. And there was no way in hell I was going to let it slip through my fingers like some fleeting dream. I couldn't help but feel the weight of the shit I had seen. I was supposed to be dead. My heart had stopped. And yet, there I was, breathing, still alive, and with the world at my feet. The clarity was like an electric shock to the fucking brain. My head was no longer clouded by the anger and bitterness that had haunted me for years. I understood now in my bones what I had to do. It was all crystal fucking clear. I had a message that could heal. A message that had to be shared before everything else went to shit. And it wasn't about me. It wasn't about some personal redemption arc. Hell no. This was bigger than me. Bigger than anything I could have ever imagined. The first thing I did when I was strong enough to sit up was tell the nurse, the doctors, and anyone who'd listened to me. They all stared at me like I was some kind of freak. Some, I could tell, were just humoring me, thinking I was still a little high on pain meds. A couple of them laughed it off, rolling their eyes like they'd seen 1,000 near-death stories before. They were probably right. They'd heard it all. But I didn't give a shit. I had to say it. I had to tell them. So I did. "Look," I told the doctor who was checking my vitals, "I know this is going to sound insane, but I was dead. I mean, really dead. And I saw things. I saw the truth. The truth about everything. About how fucked up the world is, and how it's falling apart because we're too goddamn divided. I saw a way out, a way to fix it, and I need to tell people." The doctor stared at me for a long time, the silence dragging out. What do you mean, the truth? You had a hallucination. You were unconscious. Your heart stopped. I'm not talking about some fucking hallucination. I barked, surprising myself with the force of my voice. I saw the truth. We're all killing each other with our own stupid judgments and hate. We're destroying everything, and it doesn't have to be this way. It's not too late. The doctor gave me this pitying look like I was just some poor bastard who'd cracked from the stress of whatever led to my heart attack. I could see the skepticism in their eyes. They wanted to shut me down, dismiss me. I didn't blame them. I had to sound insane. Hell, I was starting to think I was insane, but I couldn't let myself back out. Not now. The message burned in my chest like a fucking fire, like it was too big to be contained in my bones, too strong to be ignored. Jesus had given me the words, the mission, the damn reason to keep going. And no amount of skepticism or doubt was going to stop me from spreading it. I didn't care if they laughed, didn't care if they thought I was crazy. They had to hear it, and so did everyone else. The clock was ticking, and I was running out of time. So I started telling anyone who would listen, nurses, friends, random strangers in the damn hallway. I told them what I'd seen. I told them what Jesus had said about love, about unity, about healing. I talked about how the world was on the brink of collapse because we were all so fucking divided. Divided by religion, divided by race, divided by political bullshit that didn't mean a goddamn thing when the world was about to burn. I told them that the only way out of this mess was love. Real love. The kind that didn't judge, the kind that didn't exclude, the kind that accepted people for who the fuck they were, not for who they were supposed to be. Most people just stared at me like I was nuts. Some dismissed me as some freak who'd just gone through a traumatic experience and was now talking out of his ass. I couldn't blame them for thinking that way, but fuck it. Some people did listen. Some people looked at me like I had opened up a door they hadn't even known existed. Those were the people I needed. Those were the ones I could reach. And I wasn't going to stop. I couldn't. Time was running out. Jesus had been crystal fucking clear on that. The world was at a crossroads. We had a choice. We had to choose love, healing, and unity over the hate, judgment, and division that had been festering for centuries. If we didn't, if we kept going down this path of self-destruction, there was no turning back. Humanity would be lost in a world of chaos. I couldn't do it alone, and I knew that. But I could be the spark. I could be the one to start the fire of change. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know how I could convince everyone to drop their bullshit and come together, but I wasn't going to stop trying. Because if I did, if I gave up on this mission, if I let it slip away, then everything that I had just seen, everything Jesus had shown me, would be for nothing. So I kept talking, I kept sharing, I kept screaming my message of love and healing to anyone who would listen. And deep down, I knew one thing. This was only the beginning. There was a bigger battle ahead, a battle for the soul of humanity. And I was gonna fucking fight in it.